We're actually like fairly on time right now.
I know we're only 7 minutes behind.
Oh, wow. I mean, we started over a half hour ago, allegedly, but
I've been sitting at this computer for almost an hour.
What? Not almost an hour.
50 minutes. I
Why-
sat down at
I gave
10:47.
7:45 as a buffer to be starting by 8.
I
And I
know
think you
exactly.
interpret that as starting by 7:45, so
No,
you
I
got
was
there at
like,
7:30.
I wanted to have it open in case you wanted. Like, I
Oh.
wasn't. If I had gotten delayed, like I was in a good position, whereas you were in a bad position. But it all worked out fine.
I was not trying to get here at all. I was like, yeah, guys, whatever. I'm brewing my tea. I'm
Mhm.
going to be a few minutes, but like, I might be there if you need me. And by gum, I made it around the same time I did.
So okay, um, let's do this one piece of follow up we have. I think we can get through it really fast. I don't want to spend more than 2 minutes on it, which is weird because it's Tesla, but also it's a super fast update because it's a super fast product. And I didn't even put this in here. So Mike, what do you want to follow up on with Tesla?
Well, I put this in here for you, Rob, because I knew if I didn't, you would. But
I don't think so.
a couple of days ago, they announced the release or potential release,
The
projected release,
in
pending release, we'll
2019
call
in
it,
2020.
of the Tesla Semi, which we've talked about before.
Mhm.
And they gave some stats, or not some stats, but quoted some expected performance of the Semi, and it looks to be pretty good, pretty competitive. Their
At least.
range,
Yeah.
their range is really good on it. I think it was about twice as much as what the other manufacturers were projecting for their potential electric car or electric Semi models.
Mhm.
And there's an additional surprise. Actually, sorry, before I move on to that, the one point that I found interesting was that they downplayed and didn't even mention the autonomous aspect, if it's
Right.
even going to be a thing. I think we were all very anticipatory of the autonomous aspect of the Tesla Semi, but as of this time, that's not something they're advertising for this model.
Right. What I
So
think, if I could conjecture, I think they're slow playing this to be like, to get people to assume that it will have it. I think Tesla wants everyone to assume that all their cars are going to have autopilot just kind of built in. I think they want that to be the assumed standard, and I think that's why they're not
sure,
communicating it.
possibly. The other aspect too is even if they're not advertising it, it can probably just as easily be pushed with like a firmware update kind of
Right.
thing, and like just turn the switch on, literally turn the switch on,
Yeah.
with an update. Because I think similar updates, I know like the battery capacity, range, power, something of that sort was pushed with a software firmware update to the car back.
They can wirelessly change the software capacity, or with the software they can change the battery capacity, assuming that it are like so. Is what you're referring to the thing that they did in Florida with the flooding and the hurricane?
That was a more recent one. There was one before. I feel like it was some sort of like appeasement to their customer base because I don't have it in front of me here, but there was something about them giving some complimentary upgrade, so to speak, towards one of their models to certain customers.
Hmm.
And it was a matter of updating the battery capacity or something of that sort, and it was all done wirelessly over a software firmware update. So, and I did hear about the thing about that as well, that they
So
kind of want the extra range.
To simplify their product line, they'll manufacture a bunch of different they'll manufacture like one model of car and sell it at different battery capacities. So all of the cars have the maximum battery capacity, but it's just powered down by software. And so I think what you're referring to when you say wireless update that gives you more battery capacity, it's giving you the entire battery capacity that the car has, which like it simplifies their product line, it simplifies manufacturing, and that's why they do it. But it does seem very weird to buy extra battery and like carry it around if you can't use it. And so what they did in Florida for people who don't follow Tesla like I do is people were trying to get out of the path of the hurricanes that hit Florida and that area. They were able to wirelessly update to basically unlock the full capacity to let people get as far away as possible with their Tesla batteries. I think with the goal being to ramp it back down to what they actually paid for once the threat was over, which I think it's a really cool idea, but it does seem kind of weird that it's necessary to do. Yeah.
So this is a genuine question because I don't actually remember if this was talked about or if we talked about this. But did we talk about the Hyperloop One proposal from Toronto to Montreal?
I'm pretty sure we did talk about it. I don't know if we went into much detail.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to be on the record as hyped.
I'm super hyped. Yeah, like
Okay.
half an hour to go. And it would follow the similar
Well,
route.
39 minutes. So
Close enough.
shorter than a plane ride from Toronto to Ottawa.
Toronto to Montreal through Ottawa, same as Via Rail does right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
And so I think the quoted 39 minutes is actually from Toronto to Montreal through Ottawa.
It is, yeah.
But I don't think like that's not a route because it would have to stop. Like there'd have to be some layover in Ottawa to get people on and off. That's always going to be like the slowest part of train transportation when you have that fast of or I guess not even a train, but
I don't know how often you've taken the train, but yes, it is.
Yes. I've taken it a few times.
It's also the case with bus trips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found the story on the battery upgrade that I was thinking about. So it was from May 2016. And it was the Model S cars that they had sold for the past month were being upgraded to 75 kilowatt hour from 70. And it was a kind of a $3,000 upgrade that you could buy. Okay. So it wasn't a complimentary upgrade that I remembered. It was they gave the option to upgrade the battery if you wanted to.
Right, which they still offer. They say
I don't see why they wouldn't.
So I go on the Tesla site too often.
Okay.
They offer a number of upgrades. Like if you can buy the enhanced autopilot, and it's like 2,000 or something more than if you get their regular autopilot, even though all the hardware is in the car. So same with the battery. If you purchase that capacity or that functionality at the time of purchase, then it's cheaper than if you want to upgrade later. So they turned on the ability to upgrade your battery capacity after the fact, but it's more expensive than if you had bought that capacity at the time of purchase. So they want to incentivize that. The reason they did it is because it's better than just having your dead battery sitting there. It's similar. A few years ago, we talked about Intel having certain processing abilities or certain clock speeds of the chips. Like they were kind of downgraded intentionally. I think it was a similar kind of manufacturing thing where they were able to offer, you could unlock the full clock speed of your chip if you just paid a little more after the fact. And I think this is just a similar idea with capacity.
Right. Like vehicle manufacturers, they throttle their vehicles all the time. Like that's what they do to, I'm assuming it's to extend the life of the parts and stuff so that people don't overdrive their cars. But a lot of shops will modify those throttling and the tuning and unlock that quote unquote full potential of your car.
Right.
And technology I'm sure does the same thing like you alluded to there.
I mean, don't they throttle the car at like 200 kilometers an hour or something like that?
Tesla?
No, like other manufacturers.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I know like a lot of corporate fleets will have their cars throttled to like 105.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right. Just so that their drivers don't speed.
Right.
Or with the other thing of like you can put in whatever GPS tracking and it sends a message to the
company if you go that fast. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like my brother was working for a company that did that with their cars, and from what I heard, it didn't really deter people from speeding. It just got people yelled at more. Yeah.
So I don't want to spend too long on Tesla, like I said, but we should also I'll just mention that they also unveiled the Roadster 2. So their first big car was the Roadster.
What?
And this car is just insane. It does when I was reading some of the specs, it does with 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 1.9 seconds. And there was a tweet from Elon Musk that clarified that was the regular production car and that you could buy a package that would make it even faster than that. Like this car is just going to be stupidly fast. Like when they did this keynote address unveiling thing, they had a car drive up and they were giving test drives, and the acceleration on it, even in video, not sped up, like even just in live fan captured video, it's ridiculous. I don't understand how the tires don't like actually get how they get traction on regular road surfaces. It's so amazingly fast. So yeah, I'd recommend going and
All right.
watching
I
those.
just want to jump in here. Like, hey guys, shut up for a second. No, I'm watching the unveiling video right now,
Mhm.
and so I desperately want to talk about the Roadster 2 more.
Mhm.
What does it make like a sound when it accelerates? Like, that's a big appeal to people that buy these types of cars where, they slam the gas, it goes and then just rips off.
So
No,
fun story about that.
it doesn't.
Um, there are cars out there that actually have the stereo system enhance the engine noise.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a thing.
I've heard of the things you can attach to the exhaust to make it like kind of how when you're a kid you put like the pop can in your bicycle spokes.
I've heard the things living in downtown Calgary.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, making noise during bar hours when I'm trying to sleep. My God, that's a sexy beast. Just, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a nice looking car.
And it's just like a little squeak from the tires. That's all you hear.
Yeah. The
Wow.
interestingly, so the way they're doing this, they have a founders model, which is like a specific. There's going to be 1,000 of them made, and you can reserve them. They're not. This car isn't coming out until 2020 at current. That's their current estimate. But you can reserve a car in the same way that you could with the model, or probably still can with the Model 3. And I think you put down like a $50,000 deposit on the regular Tesla, the Roadster 2. The Founders Edition, of which there are only 1,000, comes out in 2020 at the earliest. You have to put down within 10 days of making the reservation, you have to put down the entire $250,000 price tag. And it doesn't come out until another at least 2.5 years.
Okay, guys, I've made a decision.
You're going to do it.
I'm going to get some obscene paying job in Fort McMurray
Okay.
so that I can live in poverty in Fort McMurray and afford this car somehow.
I mean,
I
you have until
assume that the
2020.
gas prices will make up for it somehow.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think
by
that's how that
2020,
works. Yeah, you're supposed to
Yeah.
make your money back over like 10 years or something. So
even yes, even on $250,000.
So I was working at SGS at one point when the Tesla Roadster 1 was on the market.
Mhm.
And I remember looking up the facts and figures and going, man, I don't know how it'd work in the winter, but like I could get to and from work on one charge.
Yeah.
If I really pushed it somehow.
Well, that's the other thing is that I think this one they said it's a 200 kilowatt hour battery, which the current biggest battery pack they make is a 100 kilowatt hour. So this has something like a 600-mile like battery capacity.
Yeah. So, I mean, I will say I'm sure that the acceleration is just beastly on this car because that's the case with electronic motors.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I don't know how often you guys played with like the electronic motor cars, but they're great. And they're going. It's beautiful. I'm sure the handling on this is going to suffer. Like it's very low, and I mean you can see the wheels are
Well,
right at the corners of the vehicle, but
yeah. So there's also like a lot of battery right under the car. Like it's going to have a very low center of gravity.
but the weight of the batteries is probably going to be a hindrance to those people that want a typical supercar experience.
Right. Yeah.
Because
I'm
like you're probably going to slide a lot more with that much weight.
going to include a link to MKBHD's discussion. He talks for 9 minutes about the Tesla Roadster 2, and I just think I enjoyed watching it, and I feel like if you like the car and want to kind of hear more about it from someone who's already got the Model S, and he's super excited about it, and I feel like if I could afford that, I would also. I think he said he reserved it. Like he's like one of the biggest tech YouTubers that exists, and already buys all this like 8K video gear. So he's the one making the $250,000 deposit on this.
I'm so excited about the Roadster too. I was actually lamenting privately to myself the other day. It's like, man, Roadster was so cool. Why isn't
What a
there
weird
another
coincidence.
Roadster out?
All right, so we're going to be talking more about the Roadster, I'm sure, as time progresses, like we did with the Model 3. But
Like in 10 minutes or so? Is that what you're saying?
that's not what I'm saying.
Oh.
But for now, Mike, again, you are the Alberta-based main host of the show. So why don't you give our second piece of follow-up, which is some news on what we're doing with the show?
Well, to be fair, this isn't follow up. This is follow in.
Okay.
And we're very excited to announce that we are now official members of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB.
Woo! Yeah!
Yes,
Sorry,
we
I thought
were.
you said you were excited.
It's contained excitement.
Not
Nick
just
is
learning.
Yeah, just kind of smirking a little bit. Come on, Mike. Get
Nick
up.
is obviously
Get
more
ready. Get hyped.
So Karen Unland officially welcomed us the past couple weeks here, and I guess this is our first episode as members of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATV, and we're very excited to be a part of it. There's a lot of great shows a part of the network already, including ours, if I could say the least.
Mhm.
And you can find all those shows at albertapodcastnetwork.com, and you can find them on Twitter as well at AlbertaPodNet, and give them a tweet, a shout out from us, say hi, say thanks, and stay tuned to this show and Desktop, our other show as well, for a lot more news on the network itself, some of the shows. There's a lot of cool shows on there, some tech ones, some sports ones.
I gotta say, like,
lot of different, whatever you're into, you'll find a show on there for sure. So just check it out and let us know what you think.
I was talking to the actual podcasters at the official onboarding event, and I was shocked that there were so many good ideas just in Calgary. Like, Alberta aside, just in Calgary. Like, one of the shows that I thought sounded really cool was the Expats, and that's where they interview like Canadian expatriates from around the world, just talking about that and how that goes. And I thought one of the funnier ones was the Tight Ends podcast. There are two sports podcasts like from that room.
Mhm.
Tight Ends being the sports podcast for those who don't necessarily like sports podcasts.
Makes sense.
The tagline that the host used was, "I may not know much about sports, but I know a tight end when I see one." So,
That's pretty good. That's pretty
like,
good.
I was really impressed with the creativity that was right there, right in front of me.
Yeah. There's even like an overlap between the sports and technology. I think there's one called On Deck that they do sports and technology in sports. So yeah, lots of cool stuff there, and yeah, all local Alberta content and good representation from Calgary for sure, and Edmonton and everywhere else in Alberta as well.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean,
so
as we speak, from both cities.
Yep. So with that, we're officially also moving to a regular schedule where we're going to be doing Future Chat on the third Sunday of every month, just so everyone can add that to their calendars like we have on ours. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to this partnership. I think being able to promote shows, like I'm from Calgary. I grew up there from the ages of 0 to 18. And I'm really excited to listen to some of their shows and be able to talk about them here.
I as well.
I still question your excitement based on your lack of cheering, but that's okay.
I'll dub in your cheering sounds on my channel in the audio, and it'll sound like we're both
Okay.
cheering.
That sounds fantastic.
So, Nick, why don't you tell us? You've been waiting. You've been waiting what, a month almost for this?
I actually think, yeah, it's been about a month.
You got a new phone, and you've been wanting to talk about how it is.
More that I wanted to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah.
So right off the hop, do you have any questions for me?
Which model is it?
Pixel 2.
What a
Not
waste
the
of a
XL,
question.
just the
Not the
Pixel
XL.
2. And this is going to sound silly, but actually, Mike just straight up won't believe me. But I have this thing where when I move my thumb, the rest of my fingers kind of contract with my thumb as if I'm going to grab something. But so whenever I go to access something on the bottom right part of the screen on a phone, like the weight from the rest of the phone makes it really tippy. And so like I didn't want the bigger model for that reason. And also, I mean, the Nexus 5 was kind of straining the limits for some of the cell phone pockets in my suits. And I mean, it's just not going to do. So I went for the smaller model. And after hearing the horror stories about the burned in pixels on the XL, I'm pretty happy with my choice. Any other questions?
You're on Android Nougat right now?
I don't know.
What
How
do
do
you
I
know?
find it?
I would assume so. 8
It's-
is
I'm-
Oreo, right?
Oreo's not out yet. I think they're in beta, I want to say.
Okay. I would be very intrigued if Nick and I were on a similar, even like the same major version
I'm
of
on
Android.
8.0.0.
I think that's Oreo, isn't it?
I don't know.
Mike, you're the one that's supposed to know these things. None of us.
I don't know them by number. So yeah, 8 is Oreo.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
actually didn't realize they were being released with Oreo already. So color me surprised.
Yeah. 7.1.1 is the version that my Moto X Play just got updated to recently. So I would be very surprised if that didn't have it.
So the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 8 are essentially analogs of each other.
Yep.
Like they're pretty much identically sized.
Except for the freedom.
Pretty much.
Except
I
for the
have
freedom.
Glorious, glorious freedom.
It has better
I can put icons wherever I want. It's beautiful.
pixels per inch.
Which one has better pixels per
Yours.
inch?
The Pixel 2.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Pixel
God.
2.
With a name like Pixel, I would hope so.
That is quite appropriate.
Yeah. So I'll tell you first what I'm loving about the phone. And the top of mind in terms of user experience, because I'm constantly picking up and putting down my phone. So the fingerprint scanner is just tremendous. And I know that's like, speaking of biometrics, I know that's common across many phones now, as I understand it. But the ability to just pick it up and touch the fingerprint scanner on the back is wonderful. I absolutely adore it. I also like the expanded Android functionality that I wasn't experiencing with Nexus 5.
Yep.
Like trusted Wi-Fi networks or trusted devices. Like I think I can set it up for like good examples would be my Fitbit, the car, the Wi-Fi network in the apartment here. Like once it connects to any one of those things, it'll say, "Oh, this is a trusted place. I'll just stay unlocked." Which is really handy.
Yeah, that's super useful.
It's good to know if I'm ever over.
I'm sorry, it's not handy at all. I'm never turning that on. Stupid Mike.
So this is the first new flagship phone you've owned, right?
This
Like the 5, how old was the 5 when you bought it? It was probably
No,
1 or
like-
2 years old at least, eh?
everything I've purchased since the HTC Desire was a year old at least.
Right. Yeah. And I'm in the same boat, honestly. Like I still haven't, like I bought the 4 when it was a year old, the Nexus 4.
Mhm.
And my current Note 4 I bought when it was about a year to 18 months old already.
Yeah.
So
And so that's what I did. The Desire wasn't old when I got it, but like I didn't pre-order the Desire.
Yeah. Was that their flagship at the time?
HTC, yeah.
Yeah. Was it? Okay.
Well, that was their top end phone.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like every maker generally has kind of like their what they call a flagship, and then kind of the economy models. Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah. Like Samsung they kind of own that corner of having 50,000 different models.
Yeah.
One for every person who's looking for something. So
basically, yeah. So I adore that. I am just smitten with the camera. And I haven't done any like dark light stuff like that or low light setting experimentation, but I've heard that's really good on the Pixel. And I'm not much of a photographer, but
so Nick,
like
have you tried out on the front facing camera? Apparently, this is what I hear and see examples of the front facing camera with the portrait mode where it'll blur the background behind you. I've heard that's really good with Google's machine learning stuff.
I've heard that's very good. I have not. I think I tried it once to see what it would do, and then I looked at the picture and realized I was standing in front of a blank wall, and so
oh, it looks great.
Like I just looked at the picture. I was like, man, I'm an idiot. So I have not tried that. But if you want, I could take a selfie in like with a busier background, and we could upload it to the show notes later.
Yeah. Like they've done like. Again, talking about MKBHD, like he's done a bunch of comparisons between the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 8.
Yeah.
And it's pretty black and white, so to speak.
Yeah.
The difference between the two front-facing cameras.
The one thing I found jarring is this one does the motion capture, so a picture is actually like a short video.
Yep.
And that I find, like, because I'm just not used to dealing with it, like. I have actually gone and picked better like frames of the short video at this point, but I still I'm going to zoom in on something and then it starts moving. I'm like, ah!
It does feel like you're living in the Harry Potter universe when you first get that. It's just like I took a picture, but I get to see like a 1.5-second video clip of what was happening when the picture was being taken. I really like that feature too.
I'm not utilizing it to its full capacity either, because a lot of the latter bits of that clip is me like dropping the phone so that I can look at it.
I assume because that's relatively new to Android, but iOS has had it for a while. One of the first software updates they did after it came out was for the gyroscope in the phone. If it detected that the phone was suddenly like lowered, it would cut the photo before, like the video part of the photo before that happened. So that fixed a lot of those problems where if you did that, you just wouldn't see that part of it.
Right.
And that fixed a lot of those issues for me.
Right. And like another thing I'm really liking about the phone is how smooth it feels. Like not physically, but after using a laggy and crashy phone for so long, it's like, oh my God, I swipe and the thing I want to happen happens. This is unprecedented in my life.
Yeah. That happened with the with my work phone, like the iPhone SE and the Note 4 that I have. Like when you tap on the Note 4, you have to literally wait like 2 seconds for something to happen. Like even if it's just popping open like an app folder, like an icon folder, you like tap and wait and then it opens. And then the iPhone, when I first started using it more, I tapped it and I was like waiting. I'm like, oh, that happened right away. That's weird. Like you get conditioned to just building that delay into your actions after using that type of phone for so long.
Well, and it would work if you upgraded for fairness sake. If you went from the Note 4 to the Note 8, you'd have the same thing.
Oh, for sure. This isn't like an Android versus iOS thing. It's just going from like an older phone that's long in the tooth compared to like a phone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can I share a gear grinding with you guys?
No, we actually don't want to hear what you have to say on this. So the next thing I want to talk about is...
It's not about Android. It's about phone people, like technology people in general, have started using this phrase recently, like in the last year, maybe a year and a half, how it feels in the hand. I hate that phrase. That phrase is the word moist to me. Every time I hear someone say it, I'm just like, I don't. It's such a bad phrase. It just sounds bad. Have you guys heard that? And
yeah, it's the equivalent of mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like
mouthfeel is totally a thing.
Right. So how it feels in the hand, or hand feel. So just if you
right. So I hate the phrase. I don't hate the idea. Like how a phone feels when you're holding it is a reasonable thing to think about and consider and talk about in like a review or a discussion about the phone. But
I will disagree with you totally there. Like
what?
I was trying to go for reviews of phones to like compare notes because I was between this and the Galaxy S8.
Yeah.
And like, my God, I had to scroll past so many things like how it feels in the hand. And like, so if you look at the design, it has a slight rounded edge, which is really a throwback to, and I'm like, I don't care. I could not care less about what you're trying to tell me. Jesus.
Well, okay,
what's
so
the processor? What's the RAM? How many pixels is in the camera?
In terms of direct comparison's sake,
sorry?
If you're directly comparing two phones, I think there is a little bit of value to comparing specific specs like that. But in general, I think if you're getting the flagship phone from Google, like HTC, the Pixel is made by two different manufacturers, right? Anyways, the flagship phones, if you're comparing them, I guess it makes sense to compare those specs. But I really think like if you're getting a flagship phone, whether it's Android or iOS, the specs matter a lot less than they used to. And I think it is important, especially with phones getting bigger and bigger, to know what it actually, like if it actually is too big to fit comfortably in your hand.
I think it's needlessly pretentious.
I'm not going to argue about that.
Okay.
Like that is honestly, I do feel like the way it feels in the hand sentence that I hate so much is because it sounds super pretentious. And it's just the phrase itself that I hate, but the idea of it is, I think it's coming from a good place. Like I would like to know if something feels bulky or feels plastic and light and cheap. Like I would like to know that, but
yeah,
I just hate the phrase itself. It just,
okay.
Sorry.
Well,
don't like it.
I encourage you to listen to more tech podcasts because I'm sure they'll talk about it a lot.
They will.
I agree with you, Rob, that I want to know that information, like how it feels in the hand.
Why do you say it?
That's fine.
Why do you say the thing?
That's fine that you don't like the phrase itself, but what else are you supposed to say?
I agree.
How it feels when I hold it in my hand.
So I've got this water bottle, and I've had it for a long time, actually. And what I really find key is how it feels in the hand. And it's a Nalgene. So it has a lot of similarities with Nalgene laboratory squirt bottles with how they feel in the hand.
Yeah.
And how that feels in the hand. How it feels in the hand.
So people have an aversion to the word moist, but how do you grab a sponge that has been used recently, but not that recently, and still wet? You have to say that it's moist.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
Damp.
It's a necessary.
You could say a damp sponge.
You could say a damp sponge.
It's a necessary phrase to use.
I think I can come up with I don't have a better terminology yet because I don't really use that kind of phrase to describe a phone because this thing is tiny and doesn't even need to be an issue because it fits in everybody's hand. But I don't know. I just don't like the phrase.
I would say like just use the terminology used in like knife making. Like, is it balanced?
Right.
That's an aspect of how it feels in the hand. Like, I want to know if it's smooth, if it's tacky, if it's heavy.
These are things you want to know.
Like, how much girth it has. Like, these are all
important. It's not slippery.
When I'm trying to hold something in my hand.
How slippery?
Yeah.
Like, I need to use two hands.
Like, how big is it? Right? Can I handle how big it is in my hand?
Oh my gosh.
I need to know this. These are all
Mike is title fishing right now.
Very important aspects.
How big is it? Uh,
Ugh.
okay, so Nick, I feel like you've gotten off some of the discussion you want to have with your new phone. Is there anything else you wanted to say about it?
Yes, there are things that I don't like about it.
Okay.
Um, that said, I think this might be podcast addict more than the phone itself. But I mean, the problem is it's crashed a couple times on me, like more than I think a flagship phone should be crashing on me. But it occurs to me that the only times that has happened is when Podcast Addict is running. But at the same time, if I'm actively using my phone, I'm probably running Podcast Addict.
Right.
So I'm not sure whether that's the app or it's just the fact that that's the only time I would ever notice it because all of a sudden my podcast playback stops.
Right.
Mhm.
Still not switching apps though because I love it.
Is that podcast addict crashing or the entire phone, like respringing
ask
or
the same
whatever?
The whole phone goes down.
Huh.
And I have to reboot it in like that weird safe mode kind of way.
Right.
Because it just won't turn back on for me.
Right.
Which is concerning.
It is.
Not just for me, but for Google as a whole.
Yeah.
And oh no, I was gonna say like Pokemon. Oh my god, my Pokemon experience has improved dramatically.
Yep.
I raided yesterday and it was beautiful. I dodged some charge moves.
Yep.
That said, I tried to solo a Machamp with Heavy Slam and that went terribly. Because I was not ready for that.
But I'm very glad to hear that you're trying to solo things because like for me that's a really fun aspect of the game when I can find a level 3.
I don't know. I'm fine soloing level 2s, getting my jollies that way.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I was really close on Machamp, but I was at the Mud Art and it was closing, so I had to leave. Also, I had to pick Kaya up, so a variety of factors were tearing me away from trying to beat this Machamp with stupid Heavy Slam.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if you saw the comments that I made in the Slack about my last attempt at Machamp, where I actually beat it, but it had the thing where like you beat it, but then the timer just keeps counting down and then times you out.
Oh, that's aggravating. Yeah.
So,
but like normally, if it's dual fighting moves, or even if it's just a fighting charge move, like Gengar can tank that like nobody's business.
Yeah, I know this is like a counter dynamic punch, but like Gengar doesn't have quite the same DPS output as like an Espeon or Alakazam with the type advantage.
If you have Gengar with Sludge Bomb, it's not too bad.
Is poison super effective against fighting? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Come on, Mike.
Well, I knew poison resists fighting. I didn't realize it went the other way.
And with the ghost immunity to fighting, that's effectively a triple resistance.
Yeah. No, I remember that part. I just thought about the attack aspect.
Yeah. I think so anyway. So like especially if you have a Legacy Shadow Claw moveset, it's just brilliant. It's wonderful. Because it charges and damages and it's beautiful. And I think that's almost all, or I think that's basically all I have to say about my new phone. I love it desperately. And I really need to get a case for it because just sitting here caseless and it's dangerous with me.
What kind of back does it have?
I don't think it's important, so I'm not going to discuss it.
It's a metal back, but it's plasticky. This is what I've heard.
No.
No?
I would disagree.
No, like I think it might be plastic coating, like, but there is aluminum back there.
Like it feels almost ceramic-y, but
okay.
No, you know what? I'll just show you.
Okay. Dear listeners, Nick is showing us the back of his phone.
Yeah, it's got the little.
Yeah.
If you look closely at the back of the phone, sorry, let me get right into this. If you look closely at the back of the phone, the first thing you notice is the rounded depression, which is the fingerprint scanner. It's a matte finish, gray, well, black. But next to the glassy black on the top next to the phone, it almost looks like a gray, a very subtle two-tone. And adding to this effect is the small Google G you see at the very bottom of the phone. Subtle, minimalist, very much borrowing from Apple's design. And also recycling instructions. Because Google is an environmentally responsible company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to Google what the material is, and there's nothing.
Now let's talk about how it feels in the hand.
Damn it. The on Google's
The Google Pixel
store.
2 is very evenly balanced, which is difficult for me because I'm used to the Nexus 5, which was slightly off balance, so I always knew which way was up. This is problematic unless you start feeling for the fingerprint scanner or the glassy finish on the top of the back.
I believe, so what I'm reading here on the Google store is aluminum unibody construction and then a hybrid coating on top. So it says aluminum unibody with hybrid coating, which is exactly what I described.
Not ceramic.
I'll take the win.
I'm telling you how it feels in the hand, and it feels in the hand like ceramic.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's a good thing. Like, it's good that it feels that good.
It feels a little warm to be metal.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's a
hybrid
coating.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what you'd
I'm
want.
Just telling you how it feels in the hand.
Yeah. I understand you're trying to sneak that phrase in as many times as you can. I get it.
Good. Oh, and the speakers are great. The speakers are always also front facing so that when you put your phone down, it's actually projecting the sound out, which is how you would want that to work.
Yeah. Can I segue into, you were, Nick, talking about getting a case. Can I segue into the next story? Do you feel like, are you done with the Pixel stuff?
Well, I feel like you can't segue at this point because you've just like inserted this hard division.
A nice hard segue.
Yeah, but you've mentioned cases, and I wanted to discuss this. Is that all right with you? And I'd say, yeah, Rob, that's fine. This is a very convenient and small segue break. And you say, well, thanks, Nick. That's great. So regarding cases.
So speaking of having a phone without a case, for a while, I have had my iPhone in a very, very thin case that doesn't, like, it covers the back of the phone, but doesn't extend to anywhere near the front of the phone. It stays away, goes right up to the edge, but not covering the front of the phone. And I had to, a couple weeks ago, make a impromptu trip to the Apple store to get my screen replaced because I dropped the phone face down on the pavement. And I've had such good luck with phone screens for the last several years that it was bound to happen. That is, I wanted to say that I had a interesting experience at the Genius Bar. So I made an appointment.
Grove.
I don't think mine's a Grove yet.
Oh, really? I thought they were all Groves now.
No, not mine. Didn't make any changes. I'll let them change the name if they change something about the store, but it's the exact same store. I also don't think it's called a Grove yet. I think they did have them. They're all officially called town squares now instead of just Apple stores. But the Grove is a specific thing that has like a seating area. Oh, Nick, don't worry, I'm with you on this one.
Okay.
So I went to the store.
Going to the washroom in protest.
Okay. I went to the store and I had my appointment. They now do screen replacements in the store instead of just giving you a new phone. So I went.
This is under Apple Care?
This was not under Apple Care.
Okay.
So I was going to have to pay $169. So I went to the store and they took my phone, said, come back. They said it's going to be a little bit longer. They had a backlog of screen replacements. So they said, come back in an hour and 45 minutes. And I said, okay, that's not ideal, but I'll do that. And I think, I actually did go back to the office because I was going at the end of the day, but I was going slightly earlier than I thought I would. So I work fairly close to the store. So I just went back, got all my stuff like cleaned up for the day, and went back to the Apple store. I got back and they said, okay, we're still not done. We need a little bit longer. We need like another half hour. So if you come back in a half hour, I said, that's super inconvenient, but okay.
Sense the displeasure in my tone.
By that time, it was almost dinner. So the issue was they were running they have a configuration tool that makes sure that everything's lined up and working properly. So it's like
display wise.
Right. Because there are aspects of the screen like the Touch ID that they need to make sure it's all working together. And so I went and I had dinner because by that time dinner time had come. So I went back to the store at the end of this, a total of about 2.5 hours almost that had passed, and got back and they said, okay, so we ran the configurator and it failed. It did not pass configuration, which actually means I think that more damage was done than just the screen, like either some connection between the screen, like that's a real thing. Regardless, they did not, despite the fact that I think that my theory is that means that more was damaged than just the screen. They just gave me a new phone. They swapped it out.
Okay.
And only charged me for the screen replacement. So it was rather annoying. Like normally I'd love getting a brand new phone, but it is slightly more annoying when once you're an adult and don't have hours to just play with a new thing, to get everything set up and running again. And
so iCloud backups are for.
One, you can do the black, and that to be fair, that took care of like 80% of the stuff you'd have to do, but you still have to confirm.
I gotta say, I setting up this new phone was, I was prepared to sit down for like 2 hours and get everything. Just the thing was synchronizing Podcast Addict.
Right.
Everything else was just there, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Except Super Mario Run, which is a pain. But.
Oh, well, I guess, is that the Nintendo account thing? Because Nintendo is crazy about their stuff.
I synchronized. I signed up with my Nintendo account, and it's just like, no, you can buy this if you want. And I was like,
oh, weird.
Or not.
Yeah, I'd rather not. I already did.
Yeah, I'll just play on Wi-Fi on my other phone. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, Android has a really good device transfer now. iPhone also does. As of iOS 11, there's a really easy, like you just put the phones near each other and they'll confirm, do you want to move this settings from this phone to the other new phone? I asked about that specifically, and the guy said, I would be able to do that, except your phone is screwed right now. Like my old phone, like the reason it was broken in such a way, like they didn't have it working properly. Like the screen wasn't working properly. It was on, but it wasn't responding. And
it sounds like this is like something they did with the amount of responsibility they seem to be taking, where they're giving you a new phone and saying, oh no, it's pretty screwed. Yeah. I feel like they wouldn't do that unless it was their own fault. Like they just did the installation improperly.
It's a precaution that they take. And to be fair, before they did the screen repair in store, they used to just, if you had a broken screen, they would just swap it out.
Right.
They would just give you a new device.
And sell the repaired one as like a refurbished phone.
Yeah. Well, they would like send it back to whatever refurbishment center. It wouldn't be in store.
Right.
And now that they have the repair machines in store, the backup plan is to give a new phone if anything goes wrong with the process. And so something obviously went wrong, whether it's their fault, it doesn't really make a difference to me, because I was prepared to just be handed a new phone anyways. That's what they tell you to do. Like, get a backup. We're not responsible for any data loss. And that's because they may have to just give you a new phone.
Right.
So it was fine. I wasn't able to transfer my settings over. So I had to go back. I went to the iCloud backup, which it honestly is fine. It's just not ideal. And so now I'm back to my winter case, because it was getting close to winter. Your hands get cold, like you're slightly less responsive. I had one beer that night, like 4 hours earlier. So who knows what's responsible, but ultimately what actually caused the phone breakage was I was holding my phone in the same hand as Teddy's leash wrapped around my wrist, and Teddy saw a leaf.
Oh,
he had to chase that
Rob,
leaf.
No,
I know.
No, that is a rookie dog mistake. No, you can't do that.
So I know that's what I'm saying is that this beer obviously impacted my judgment. I don't drink as much as I used to. This one beer several hours earlier impaired my judgment.
Yeah, okay. I hear that too. That is,
Yeah.
man, I had like the equivalent of a beer and a half the other day. My God.
I forgot where home was.
So,
Yeah.
you know what I hate about setting up a new phone?
Mm.
I hate having to redo all the two-factor authentication. That's
Well, Mike, why don't you tell us more about redoing the two-factor authentication?
so the other day, so just for a bit of background, my current Samsung Galaxy Note 4, it's the battery's starting to fail. So
Mhm.
it basically dies at 50% now. So
Mm.
it's not good.
Great.
No, not great. So halfway through the day, I ran out of battery, but I still wanted to have access to my messaging apps, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Discord, Slack, all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, hey, I've got my work phone here. I'll just download those apps and sign into those. So I download the apps, sign in. Hey, we've sent a text to your phone number. Why don't you just throw in that old authentication code?
No.
So yeah, that threw a wrench in my plan. I thought I was all clever about just swapping over to my other phone, and that didn't work. So I hadn't considered that as a potential failure point of two-factor, at least when it comes to using SMS for two-factor.
Mhm.
They obviously, some places have the Google Authenticator or other authentication app that you can use for the 2FA, but in my case, I usually will do the SMS if I have the option to, just because it doesn't rely on a data connection for it. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the authenticator apps, those do or don't require data connection.
They do.
They do, yeah, right. So yeah, if I'm somewhere without a data connection, then I'd still like to be able to get my two-factor code. But in this case, I just didn't have access to the phone at all because it was dead, and that wasn't allowing me to sign in. So
That was actually the reason that I initially forwent.
Forgone?
Forwent.
Forgoed?
Forwent is a word.
Anyway,
We'll go with forwent.
I did not enable two-factor authentication for that reason. But then after someone tried to break in from Southeast Asia somewhere, I was like, maybe I should just turn this on anyway.
Which app was that for that you chose to flip that for? Was it Google?
Pardon?
Which
someone
app?
just tried to sign into Google.
Oh, right. So your Google account, like a bunch of apps now have the two-factor. So that's why I was curious, because for a while, and again, I don't know if it was like a token that I gave permission for, but I don't think this happens. But I kept getting Twitter attempted logins on my account. So it kept sending me text saying your Twitter code is blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not trying to sign in from anywhere.
Right.
So those stopped, thankfully. I think I had changed my password, and then it was fine after that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anyway, use a password manager.
So
That's my recommendation.
Mike, do you use Google Authenticator for your two-factor, or do you use the like Google app or like built-in Google stuff on Android for the Google logins? Like
it depends. If I have my phone on me, then it will give that notification and say, "Are you trying to sign in?" And then it'll say yes. But I do have, like, when I'm trying to sign in from like a new browser, like it still will ask. Like, okay, Google's good about this because when they try to do the two-factor, they'll give, tap the notification. Oh, if you're not able to do other options, they'll say, oh, text this number, call this number, send an email, whatever, right? They give a bunch of options.
Yeah.
So right now, when I'm able to and have the phone with me, I'll do that notification thing and just say, yes, I'm trying to sign in, and we'll be fine. Microsoft does the same thing. But there's other apps where they only have, SMS or an authenticator app of some sort. So, I mean, like I said, I'll always do SMS if they're let me.
Right.
But some only do the authenticator app, so I'll just use that, and that's fine.
Right. So
like
what
IFTTT has the authenticator app. I don't think they do the SMS one.
Right. What I have set up is I have every device that I have a thing like that for. I have multiple, like all my devices can be a second factor. So if my phone died, my iPad would still get the Google login alerts through the Google app. And I don't know, I haven't used any service that uses Authenticator in a while. But the like Apple's two-factor authentication works the same way, where like because I have all my devices secured with a password or like fingerprint authentication, I can approve any login from any of those devices.
Right. I think we talked about it. I don't remember if it was on this show or on desktop when you said that you had tried to log in from whatever device. I think it was like a MacBook,
Mhm.
and it said, "Hey, is this you?" But it was asking on the MacBook,
Right.
so
Which
it kind of defeated that purpose.
Well, so it kind of defeats the purpose, but not
It
really
actually
because
entirely defeats it.
no, because you still need to log in to that laptop when you start using it. Like
I
if it was
guess.
locked, you'd have to unlock it in order to get that authentication at all. It's another device that's separate from the account that it's being logged into that causes the issue. I don't think I might unless someone is able to steal my MacBook and have it like while I'm sitting there and have it stay
Right.
unlocked.
Right.
But as soon as it locks, like it's password protected.
I suppose. Yeah, that's
So
fair.
yeah, I should make my passwords more secure now because all of those passwords are just not secure.
Right.
They're not password, but yeah, because I'm not actually trying to keep anybody out.
Wait,
Nick, you're muted still. Just so you know, you're muted.
But Rob, you've just decreased your password security because now everyone knows that that's not your password.
Oh, yep, that's true. If they could get in one
Jeez, man.
microsecond faster.
I thought you were into like tech and security and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
clearly.
Yeah, I actually should turn them up, the security of my passwords, because Touch ID and authentication is getting good enough that I actually trust it like 95% of the time now. So I'm probably at the point where I could make my passwords more secure. It's just super annoying to type them in.
Yeah.
So was that your that was your two-factor story, Mike? Because I also have something that I wanted to add to the two-factor thing.
Yes, that was.
So at work, one of the big things that we do, one of our flagship programs at NSERC is called the Discovery Grants Program. And so for 3 weeks out of the year, we have people come in from mostly around the country, but there are a few international people as well. They come in and they review our flagship grant program. And we have to make sure that these members that are voting on reviews are doing so, first of all, anonymously, but also that we're making sure that the people that we want to review the applications are actually reviewing their applications, that we think they are. And because we're trying this year to come up with a new bring your own device aspect to that, where they're working on a web system that once you log into our Wi-Fi network at NSERC, that you'll be able to log in as yourself and vote through your own thing. Whereas before we'd have laptops on the desk. And we had a big discussion about it because it was relatively insecure, the process that they were coming up with as a replacement with this bring your own device thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was relatively insecure in that you could log into a different room and accidentally vote. We're not worried about maliciously hacking votes, but we're worried about people mistakenly voting in the wrong area. And so we had a meeting yesterday or on Friday where we were talking about this at length. And the old system was two-factor authentication because you had to be logged in on the right computer in the room in addition to authenticating yourself. And with this new system, bring your own device, you only have to be logged in as yourself. You don't have to be in the room in order to be able to vote. And so what this led me down the path of was thinking, okay, well, we need a second factor. We need to enable two-factor authentication. We need a number that is generated or only given while you're inside the room. And so I've now suggested this to the development team that's working on this thing for the competition. And I don't see any other way to make this secure, because everyone was really worried about the possibility of people voting wrong. And I was like, I just got down to thinking of, okay, so this is a typical internet security problem. Let's solve it with a typical internet security solution. And the solution is come up with a code that is unique to the room, that whatever NSERC staff is sitting in the room at the time of voting, they would just say, okay, the code for this room, for this application is like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you'd enter it. And if someone was in another room, they wouldn't be able to accidentally vote or mistakenly vote for the wrong application, because they would get a different number. And I just like, when we talk about these things, it kind of feels like they don't have real world applications, like they kind of have personal applications, but being able to apply the security principles that we talk about and learn when we're discussing things on the show, they really do apply in the real world. And it seems like IT was, once I explained what I was trying to get at with this guy after the meeting had ended, when there were a bunch of kind of more non-technical people that were working on the programs, were discussing like back and forth about, is this secure, is it not? I went and talked to him for like 3 minutes after the meeting, and I was like, it explained what I meant and how two-factor. He's like, you know what, you're right. That would solve all our problems. And so I'm really interested to see what happens, like in the coming weeks, if that ends up being kind of the answer to our security / authentication problems.
Right.
Yeah. I'm very excited. I love being able to apply the stuff that we kind of are interested and passionate about, and apply it to like real life and jobs and actual work.
Yeah. And I think you alluded to something there about it being maybe confusing or intimidating to non-tech people. And I don't mean that in a,
it is, yeah.
In like
it's not
ego or
derogatory.
authoritarian sense, but just people who aren't familiar with how things work technologically. When you start bringing in these concepts, it's like, oh well, like you said, you have to kind of explain it a bit and kind of sell it as, this is a very simple and straightforward thing to do, but it solves the problem that we have.
Yeah. So I'm very excited.
That is neat when that happens.
It makes me feel good about myself, and like the fact that what I'm learning is actually applicable to work. Like when I spend time on these kinds of things at work, like technology and improving things and learning about how, like, for example, security infrastructure works, it actually can apply directly to your job. Like there's a reason why companies who kind of allow their employees more flexibility in what they kind of teach themselves about these things actually can pay off. Yeah, there's I don't know, what do you guys want to close the show with? I do want to talk about, even briefly, just as a PSA. I wanted to put it earlier in the show, but here we are. There's a link in here that'll be in the notes from the CRTC. It's back from June 1st, I think, of 2017. But as a PSA, because we're only doing this show every month now, every third Sunday, the next time the show comes out, you can do this. And actually, by December 1st, you can do this if you're on a cell phone plan in Canada and your phone is locked to the carrier that you have the plan with. As of December 1st of 2017, you can call or go to your carrier, and they have to unlock your phone for free. As of December 1st, the rep I talked to said on December 2nd, come in or call and we'll unlock it for you. The only issue being that a lot of people are probably going to be doing that, so you might have to wait like on a phone line or in line. But that's super exciting because there's no.
So you don't have to be physically there. Even they can do it.
No, you can call it.
Nice.
It's an IMEI or like it's a SIM lock,
right.
So it's not. It doesn't have to be your physical device.
I was shocked that wasn't the case already.
I know. It doesn't null and void your contract. It just means that you're not. You can take your phone to another carrier once your contract's ended, or if you want to buy out of your contract. It's such a weird rule for it to have existed. Like it's leftover flack from the old systems.
Well, I think before, carriers would try to sell themselves as being the first to have whatever phone or the only ones to have whatever phone. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think that's a thing anymore, especially now that buying directly from the manufacturer or just, resold phones, that kind of stuff is becoming so much more popular. Like people don't buy phones directly from carriers a lot of the time anymore.
Mm-hmm.
right? And if they do, like, these phones are available everywhere because people want them, so every carrier is going to have them.
It is the case that this will potentially lead to people, like, again, if you're using an old phone, or if your phone that you bought doesn't work on all bands of LTE or something, that you may not be able to use every phone in every single situation, but that is so the minority, and it is already an issue if you paid to unlock your phone and tried to use it on that thing. Like, you're not solving any issue by kind of completely locking down every phone unless you pay $50 to unlock it. Like, that's all they're doing is getting rid of that $50 to unlock fee that you can do. Right. So I would recommend, if you are on a plan like it, that ups the resale value of your phone if you want to resell it if it's unlocked. It makes you more free. Like, if you need to go to the States.
Or does it anymore?
Well, no, it does. It makes it inherently more valuable. It's not going to be, in comparison, it's not going to be. But now if you're selling your Fido phone and someone has a TELUS account, they don't have to. That doesn't have to be a layer to think about. Also, if you're going to the States or if you're going internationally and you want to roam, you need an unlocked phone. And previously, people either couldn't do it or had to go with like a Roam Like Home, or one of the like Fidos is called Fido Roam, where you have to pay the carrier a bunch of money, as opposed to, like, if you're going to Europe, for example, where they have a lot cheaper data, you could just put in a $10 SIM card and basically have unlimited data there. So yeah, if your phone is not unlocked, I would recommend going and doing this. This also means that when I do upgrade my phone, I have no reason to go to the Apple Store to buy an unlocked one anymore, because so I can save a little bit of money from whatever money they'll give me off the phone for renewing my 2-year contract, but it'll still be an unlocked phone. That was the reason why, because I liked having that unlocked phone.
Yeah, I know the last time we bought a mobile hotspot for Maria's work, and one of the things that they had was they wouldn't sell a device without a plan with it, or if you already had a plan. I don't know if that's also going to change. Like, I think carriers are still allowed to do that.
Yeah, I think they should. Like, I don't see why they wouldn't sell you a phone if you want to buy a phone. They would just sell it at full price.
Because they get their money from the plan. Like, they're...
Well, sure, but they'll still sell you a phone at market value.
No, I know they should, but their whole thing is, well, we're not going to sell you a phone unless you're going to get a plan from us, because you could just take that phone wherever, right?
Right, but why wouldn't they? Like, why wouldn't they sell you an iPhone at $950 or whatever it is dollars? If that's what the going rate is, why wouldn't they want to sell you a phone? Obviously, they'll make more money if you get a plan, right? But if they want to buy a phone from you, then you're selling a phone.
I agree. Like,
as thrilling as this is, I must go. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your conversation.
Okay, Nick.
Just so that we're on the record, I agree with Mike.
Okay. I can edit that out, don't worry.
Rob's just gonna create a whole soundboard of every word and just mix and match sentences.
Yeah. For the record, I agree with Rob.
For the record, I don't agree with Mike.
Yeah. Is there anything else I have a few more minutes if you want to talk about. I do want to talk about the Ontario ID card, so if you want to do that briefly,
it's a little late now.
Fine. Honestly, all I want to say is that I posted this. I'll put it in the notes. All I want to say is that I can't wait to not have to carry my wallet because of stupid ID cards.
Well, no, like I have a lot of thoughts on just having physical cards be a necessity. Like, since I heard about the Apple Wallet and what they're doing with that, like, it's like, why haven't we done that sooner? Like, when it comes to bank cards and all that kind of stuff, like, hacking, quote unquote, hacking risks aside, like, that's always a consideration. But I don't know. I feel that you can just as easily lose your card and people can use it, right? So I think you're more likely to lose a card and be compromised that way than, like, be quote unquote hacked or whatever and get your money stolen that way.
Yeah, it's not the card itself that provides the thing that is written on the card. Like, it's the fact that they're that you're in their database and that they have a record of you having the thing. Like, for example, if I submit a copy of my diploma as a reference or as an education check for a job, if I send them a copy of my diploma, does that mean that I have that diploma, or does that mean I was able to produce a facsimile that looked similar enough?
Right.
Like, if they were worried, having that piece of copied paper or digital PDF is not enough. They would have to go and call the university and say, did this person get a master's degree from you in such and such a year? They'd still have to go and check. So
Right.
what
Well, that's
good
why a
is
lot of
having,
places, get you to have your school send them
yeah, right.
your transcript. So it's
It
coming from
depends on
them,
the place.
right? Yeah, no, not everyone, and probably not even most people are gonna get you to do that. But
Yeah.
if they are actually concerned about that, that's what they get you to do,
Right.
is have them, the school fax over or whatever,
Mhm.
a copy of your transcript.
One of the things I haven't done yet, but they really want to do, is take a really good high quality picture of my driver's license, put it on my phone, and then if someone asks for see my license, just show them that. Because again, it's the same idea. Yes, you can have a fake driver's license, but having a card versus having a picture of the card is no different in terms of how it authenticates. They still have to, if they actually wanted to be sure, they'd have to go and check the database.
There's
But
security
honestly,
features on the card, though.
what are they? Like
I
what?
don't know off the top of my head, but cards like that will have security features on them.
But they're security features that are difficult to reproduce. They're not
Right.
impossible to reproduce.
No, but again, you're less likely to have that reproduce and just have a picture faked. Right.
But in the
it's
end,
easier
if
to
you
fake a picture than it is to fake the security measures that are on those cards.
but they don't, again, they're not checking what I want to do. I don't want to say like, I don't want to only carry around my phone and not bring my driver's license as a result, but I want to be able to go and say, oh, can I see your license, and show them the picture. If they say, oh, I need to see the actual card, then fine. But I want to see if I can get away with just using the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not checking the security features. They're just glancing at it and saying, looks real, is real. Right?
Well, no, because there's laws against producing fake identification. So in the case that it was found that it was fake, or if they wanted to press the issue, then you'd be challenged that way.
Well, then I would give them the real license. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, obviously, there are details here that are wishy-washy, but the main point being that you don't need the actual license. That's not the part that's valid. Like, I told you a story a couple of years ago about how we bought travel insurance, and they wrote the information down on a little card and gave it to me, and then I immediately put it in the washing machine. The card that contained those numbers was not the proof of my insurance. The numbers themselves are the proof of the insurance, and it doesn't matter if you have the card or not.
Mm-hmm.
They have to look up in their system, oh, policy number, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then because I washed the thing, it doesn't mean my insurance is invalid. It just
Well,
means I need a card.
Well, it's the same thing with like the social insurance number card.
Yeah.
Like a lot of places, like, oh, you must have the actual card. It's like, why?
Why? Yeah.
Like, the card doesn't do anything. The number's on there. I know the number. Look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with any initiative to get rid of physical cards. Yeah.
Especially if your license data and information and the copy, like in your wallet, is stored biometrically. And like you have to actually authenticate with your fingerprint or whatever it is to be able to show your card.
On the card or on the phone?
On the phone. Like
in this thing that they're trying to implement with
like if you said, right? If it said like, oh, show me your ID, you open up the app or you open up Wallet or whatever, and you have to authenticate again in order to actually show it.
Yeah, even like a fingerprint, right?
Yeah.
Like that'd be fine.
Whatever authentication method your phone has, yeah. I'm very excited. So I can't, like, the actual headline here is that Ontario photo ID cards, they've an Ottawa-based software company has won a contract to work on a virtual ID of this type, and I'm just really excited for it to potentially be happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's the same thing, and hopefully it turns out better than the efforts of transit systems trying to get with the times.
Oh my
but
gosh,
I mean, like the contract that they won, I think was like just over $1 million. I think.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't sound like a lot to develop like something like
nothing.
This. Yeah. So it's like I don't know how far they're going to get with that little money, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you say, Mike? Is that enough for the week?
I think so.
You feel satisfied? I've only been sitting here for 2 hours. I'm going to stop the broadcast.